Before the video starts, I just want you guys to know that by the time you're watching this, I'll be away. So sadly, the next Kat Cafe won't be streamed or recorded, but there will be something for Monday. So keep your eye out. Other than that, thanks for watching.
I was saying I was asking if it'd be funny. I didn't say I was.
Well, you just technically did. So, what?
Well, no one knows my Steam name, so it's
I
so,
guess.
you know, haha.
Haha, hehe, ho ho. Phony.
Anyway. Oh, jeez. I keep hitting my microphone. Did you guys hear that? Did you guys hear
I
that?
heard it. And I wondered what happened.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Well, let's just get right into it. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Kat Cafe, a weekly podcast streamed live on Twitch where we talk about lighthearted topics that make you scratch your head, or wherever you really scratch. Today's topic is a pretty extensive one, to be honest, but I don't think we're gonna be able to cover everything. To be honest with you, I'm pondering making a part 2. Because honestly, it's really that extensive. It's a very deep and very methodical subject to tackle. I'm here with Bana Berev and Squeebers.
Hello.
We're gonna have to get some new speakers soon. Hopefully Furry Scout. Furry Scout's been wanting to join for a while now. Hopefully he can next time. Yeah, he's been pretty busy.
It's just because it's like 6 a.m. over there right now.
Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
He has to get up really early for the podcast. But well, hopefully he'll be here next time.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, it would, honestly. I've been wanting to have him on for a while. He was here for episode 1 and then never again.
An episode appearance, we had to vote him off Total Drama Island.
Oh my god.
We
no.
can pre-record a late one. It'll be the Furry Scout cast.
The furry cast. That would be
He can host it, and it'll be about like journalism and furries and more furries and furry things and furries. And also scalies.
and the Y word.
Yep.
Yelling?
Wait, what?
Yoff.
You said the Y word, yelling?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yaff.
No.
What's so illegal about yelling? That's fun
Don't
to
beat
do.
me.
Listen.
It's not the word.
Ow.
Not the word, Bama. But okay.
Youth.
Oh my god, Bama, did you actually send somebody to the meme trap?
Stop beeping me.
Manga, anime, Netflix. Jeez, that's a pretty
That's
intense
my
one.
opinion on. For
Why
those
does
of you
that look
in
like
Twitch
the
and not
chick from
watching this in the
Android?
future on YouTube,
No, I'm not
I
gonna
posted a
I'm
picture
not
of
gonna-
like what
I'm not-
diving from Steven Universe, like manga, anime, Netflix, and is that meme? Is that meme?
Nah,
It
I'm not.
looks-
Yeah, that has nothing to do with the subject. I'm not posting that. I'm sorry.
Looks like some sort of crazy
Okay.
version of the Yolandi from the Antwerp.
Oh my god, that's. Oh my god, is that still a thing?
It looks like Christina Aguilera and Yolandi were
Ugh.
merged together in some sort of horrible teleporter accident.
Oh my god. That is a
I
terrifying
tried turning
image.
on my voice settings. I tried turning on my voice settings on my Discord since I yell a lot. Does it sound fine?
Yeah, it sounds good. So, consciousness. This is
Uh-oh.
this is a bit of a weird one. Please, let's try to keep it family friendly. I know there's a lot of controversial parts of consciousness. I know it's a pretty.
That's
it's a very-
conscience.
No, yeah. I mean, consciousness. What we define would be like knowing. I mean, what would actually? That's the first question I have for you guys. What would you guys define consciousness as?
Oh boy, that depends. Like I don't know much about like the controversy around it apparently, because I just figure consciousness is either the act of being awake or actions.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying because I really don't want to touch any controversial subjects because I'll let other people touch the controversial ones. For now, we just.
I'll touch him.
No.
I'll touch him so hard.
Oh my god, Squeakers, don't molest them. No. But okay,
God.
so Bama, what you're saying is that you think consciousness is being awake. Like,
Either for me, it's being awake / being aware of your actions, being conscious of your actions.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, my question
Dismiss
was
being,
yeah, okay. What about
Let's put it
you,
that way.
Squeebers? What do you think
How would you-
consciousness is?
How would you then define being conscious of your actions? Like being aware that you're doing them, controlling them?
Oh, that's actually a
being
good
aware that
question.
you're being aware of what you're doing and aware of the consequences that might come after.
So you mean like, I think the question.
Oh man.
Well, in my opinion,
Let's say I decided to kill a man. That kind of thing. I would
so
to me would constitute being aware that I might go to jail for this.
well, I think I understand what you mean, but I think what you're trying to define it is a state of being, whereas you have full control over your actions.
Say that like it's not attainable.
No, it is obtainable.
You think then that only humans are able to anticipate outcomes of their actions?
Sorry, I had to turn down the music a bit.
Let's see. If
Like
I'm
obviously,
interpreting
many animals aren't. Like crabs don't know when they walk into a crab trap that there's no way out. But
but they still try to get out.
do you think there are animals that can see a problem and determine before they act that their actions may have some sort of response?
But how do you know
If there
that?
was animals that, if there was animals that could do that, if there was animals that had a quote unquote conscience, I'm sure every species would be extinct by now.
Why?
Well, let's say a lion came across a rhino.
Okay.
If he didn't have a conscience, he would not apply past experiences. This rhino might kill me. It's bigger and it's stronger. Maybe I should back off.
Okay, but the thing is, that's problem solving. But I think Squeebers is talking
I think
about. I'm kind of answering Squeebers on this one. When you say that most animals don't have consciousness, that they don't know. Yeah.
I didn't necessarily say that. I mean,
No, not you.
As a
I'm answering Squeebers'.
oh, what you meant in general? You meant in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah, I'm answering Squeebers in that.
Yeah, sorry.
I have a question that. So, if you define consciousness as knowing the full spectrum, I guess, of things, then what about a human being that does not know? Say, for example, we don't know much about space. Imagine to understand how much we know about space and time. Take a cup of water, right? Imagine looking at that cup of water and saying, there are no sharks in the ocean. Well, you need a bit of a bigger sample than the cup, right? Well, if we don't, that's all we know about space is technically a cup in the ocean of space. So would you define us as conscious then? Because we don't really know anything beyond space. Squeak?
I risk sounding like an idiot because I always get these two confused.
Yeah,
But
that's fine.
I'm fairly sure that's an example of inductive reasoning.
Inductive reasoning.
That's like saying that's like saying looking at a place that doesn't have sharks and then saying sharks don't exist.
Yeah, exactly. So my question to Squeebers is, do you define consciousness as being aware of something or someone or an action or an occurrence or an event? Is that what you define as consciousness?
Well, I was just asking because he said it's being able to perceive outcomes based on your actions.
I didn't necessarily say
And-
perceived outcomes. I meant understand there is a consequence to the action.
You mean an action and a reaction?
Reaction has an equal and opposite reaction, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds.
But if I
it
killed a
sounds-
man, I would go to jail.
No. I mean, it sounds cheesy, but it is kind of true. Like every action has an equal and opposite reaction. If I kill a man,
If it-
there will be a reaction, in terms of, yes, I'm going to jail, but there'll also be an opposite reaction, whereas depending on my emotional and mental state, I could probably feel negatively or positively about my actions.
That phrase, however, doesn't actually apply to things like societal constructs. You know, you kill a man, you're going to jail. What it would mean is you kill a man, the result would be there's a dead man.
Yeah.
That too. I think
Well, I mean, it is a bit of... I'm sorry if this episode is a bit slow, but it is kind of a very broad and very, very hard to describe subject.
I guess the only way to really confirm like what consciousness is by looking it up, which I'm about to do.
Cheater.
Look who's talking.
Conveniently for you, I already have like 7 tabs open, and
Of
I've
course you
had
do.
consciousness opened. I just wanted to see what y'all thought before I read the definitions.
So, what is Google's definition of consciousness?
It's not Google, it's Wikipedia. It's different than
Worse.
Google.
I'm looking on Google. Being awake and aware of one's surroundings. The awareness
Hold
or
on,
perception
let me
of something by a person. The fact of awareness by the mind of itself and the world.
So, awareness.
Basically awareness, yeah. Which is what I was saying. Being aware.
Yeah.
Aware, there's a consequence. Being aware, there's a man sitting behind you with a knife that is about to backstab you. Look out!
So, if...
Consciousness has typically been defined as sometimes sentience, often awareness. Subjectivity is a good one. The
Yeah.
ability to experience or feel.
So, would you say that if consciousness is sentience in a way, I don't think that's true, because does that mean that every time you sleep you technically die and then wake up? Like, do you die and revive every single time you go to sleep?
If you die in your sleep, you die in real life.
That's debatable, but okay.
Debatable.
Yeah.
Because
I'm
I would have died in my sleep.
That's
and
supposing
I'm still
that-
alive.
That's supposing that loss of consciousness is loss of life, and physiologically you're still alive even when you have no active conscience.
Yeah.
Look at
Oh,
people
that would
in
be classified as
comas.
brain dead, wouldn't it?
That is true. I was about to say that, yeah. Do you think then that the consciousness has to do with the brain? Because if one is aware, then you're registering it on the brain. And usually when you're declared brain dead, your body's working just fine. You're just dead inside. You're dead inside.
You're dead inside your mind.
You're literally dead inside. Because there's,
Or 404, consciousness not loaded.
Windows
Consciousness
10.
not found.
Damn it, Windows. Yeah, but you rarely are ever declared heart dead, I guess, like where everything works for your heart, because you can just replace that. But a lot of people think that the brain is what stores the consciousness, so when you go to sleep, technically your brain still works, but it works in the subconscious. So
Yes.
are you still conscious while you're unconsciously sleeping?
Well, no, I think you answered yourself just then. Are you still conscious while you're unconscious? No.
No, I mean, like, when you're sleeping, your brain is still working in the subconscious. So is the subconscious just the extra form of consciousness?
I'd say so. Just
Yeah.
because it's sub doesn't mean it's not. It is
Yeah.
still a form of consciousness. It's just not an active,
It's a passive
open,
one.
out, and flamboyant kind of conscience.
More of a passive one, you're saying.
Yeah, and there's actually a really interesting argument behind consciousness. People seem to come down on one of two sides. There's a lot of different types of consciousness, a lot of different definitions for it, different theories on where it comes from, how it exists.
I
But
do have an interesting one I want
typically-
to tell you after you finish.
okay, typically they're either dualist or monist. And dualist or monist, or monist, however you want to pronounce it. But dualism, like it sounds, is suggesting that there's a distinction between mind and matter. That your brain and your conscience, your sense of self, are not necessarily connected. That they both exist, so they probably have some similarities, some reason for being together, but they're separate. And then monism, is the belief that the brain and its very specific groupings of neurons and very specific pathways and atom clumps result in consciousness.
Oh, okay. Well,
And really, it's the argument of science versus religion. Because in dualism, it's the belief that your conscience can't really be defined, it can't be identified, which scientifically is true. It's no one's really been able to say, here's where the conscience is.
yeah, it just
And then the
is.
monist point of view is very appealing to especially like computer engineers and scientists, people like that, because it suggests that
It's technically an AI.
it suggests there's a physical path that you can follow to see where the conscience is, and that means you can recreate it.
So, that is interesting, but I think there's a third point of view, which is actually it's uh, it's very skeptical, and you have to like disconnect your willing to believe in logic for a second. But a theory I heard, I'm gonna nerd out a bit. You know who Doctor Manhattan is, right? From The Watchmen.
Yes.
Yes, you understand he's like a really incredibly powerful physical being that can work with even the smallest molecules of matter in reality. Essentially, he
He's
can.
also naked.
Yes, and blue. He like
And
can,
blue.
he can control space time in a way. I was listening to a theory. I forget the name of the guy. I will link it down in the description for you, those of you on YouTube. But I can't remember his name right now.
Link
In-
Dom?
Yes. In the video that he posted, Dr. Manhattan, he shows in the comics how Dr. Manhattan dies. Spoilers for anyone, but I'm not gonna say that now. But
Little late for that.
yeah, it's a pretty old movie.
Spoilers, Bruce Willis was dead.
But basically, in the movie and in the comics, Dr. Manhattan dies in a way that his electrical energy in a way is sensed, but it's not attached to anything physically. And that electrical energy that just floating there reforms his body. So he says that according to at least the Dr. Manhattan universe and possibly this universe, consciousness is like a radio signal, and your brain is just like a TV. You can mess with your brain, and we can like manipulate the brain and make people feel stuff, and we can like control it and do all kinds of stuff. We can even change what we're looking at, or literally anything. But it says that theory says that without that specific signal, we cannot have consciousness. So it's like might be something in another dimension or another kind of realm of existence that is just connected to our brains, and that's how consciousness comes to reality. It's a bit of a
Do you think only humans are able to tune into those frequencies and therefore only humans have consciousness?
Not really. I just think that animals have a different level of consciousness, or they have like a different form, different category of consciousness that is not like that of humans, or possibly the same one. Because just remember one thing: if we are following that theory, we can have the same kind of consciousness, but our brains kind of manipulate and bottleneck it. So maybe animals do have the same kind of consciousness as humans, but their brains kind of bottleneck it, and they can only have a certain amount of it compared to humans.
Because they have stupid small animal brains.
Little pea brains. Yeah.
Stupid animals.
But
There's a very popular argument, I wouldn't say argument, a scientific thought from looks like the beginning of the 1800s and then reaffirmed in the early 1900s
How's that?
that it almost reminds me of a Schrodinger's cat kind of scenario. It's an ongoing argument many scientists appear to have made over the decades that animals can't have consciousness because to identify consciousness and a conscious thought, you would have to be able to equate it to something. You can describe what it's like to be a man, or what it's like to eat chocolate, or what it's like to feel the sun. And you can describe what it's like to think and to feel and to have emotions. But because
Can't really
there's no
describe it.
way to examine an animal's brain and how they think and what they're thinking of, there's no way to describe what being a dog is like.
I guess so.
And that's where the Schrodinger's cat idea kind of comes in, that since we can't observe it, it doesn't exist.
But if we're following that logic, how do we know for sure that an animal, like, how do we know a dog sees in black and white? Sure, we can work with the eyes and we can like inspect it and all that kind of stuff. But if you're following that logic, how can we equate anything to an animal in terms of its brain? Because if
Well, some things are much more monistic than dualistic, like pigmentation in the eyes, receptors, the photoreceptors on the back of the corneas and the retinas, and pupil dilation. You can use those things to tell what colors its cones are able to pick up and what part of the brain's able to differentiate between left and right and green and black, things like that.
I guess that makes sense.
But whether or not the dog is able to sense itself and feel the moment to go,
that's
I
a
am a
bit harder.
dog, I am here. That's that's where the dualism comes in, because where in a dog brain can you point to and go, there, right there, that's where he knows he's a dog.
Yeah. I guess that does make sense in a way, but then how do we... I mean, okay, then how do we know? Because we know, apparently, that dogs can feel guilt. Then is guilt a part of consciousness? Are they consciously... Like, can they consciously not feel guilt? Like, they can feel sadness. They can feel happiness. But if we don't know what conscious is, how do we know that it knows that it's happy? Like, how does it know that?
I think a more commonly accepted definition of consciousness, if you ignore, wakefulness and emotions, feelings, is just
Yeah.
a sense of existing. Do you know that you exist, and do you know that you might not exist someday?
What about you, Bama? Do you know you exist?
Depends.
It's
Do I
debatable.
exist now or exist later? Because I'm zoned out there listening to squeebers.
Like, he's shrewd,
Squeebers,
Bama.
you can be a teacher, man.
Yeah, he's
Be a
quite
teacher.
knowledgeable. He's quite knowledgeable. He has a good amount of
Get a
Google.
job at a college.
I absorb so much useless garbage that just sits in my brain.
Yeah, I think that's everyone at this point. The internet has kind of spoiled us with information.
I think I'm lucky, though, that very little of my brain's RAM is taken up by memes and
RAM?
social media. So
RAM?
it's got plenty of space to dedicate to things like 50,000-year-old tribes in the Indian Ocean and the folds and the brains of various animals. Like, all this fun stuff that I'm sure I'll never use.
I mean, you could technically use it when you go like a college campus or something. You, like debate against students, I guess.
Oh,
I'm
I'd
just-
love to just go debate against people.
I'm just still laughing at the brain's RAM. Dude, I got the new Apple iBrain with new RAM. Can you believe that? I can think so fast now. I can finally play Tetris 99.
You know,
Yeah.
if you think about it, that's not as far-fetched as it sounds.
How so?
Well, if you take the monist stance and not the dualist, then consciousness is a physical process. It's very small, it has to do with neurons and atoms and electrical currents, but
Do you
it's
think?
physical.
Do you think AI will ever not? Okay, let me just rephrase this
Yes.
real question. Okay, do you ever believe that we'll accidentally activate a conscious AI with human errors? Because we made it. Or do you think the AI will just be so perfect without all our little mistakes and we'll be like, oops, we made Skynet?
Well, that sort of starts thinking about when we inevitably create AI that is that advanced, which, according to some of the leading technology, what do they call it? The people
Elon
that like
Musk.
make predictions based on technology and more powerful than Elon Musk. Maybe not as rich, but there's one guy who I love reading about. It's Ray something or other, and he has like a 70 or 80% batting record when it comes to future predictions based on technological trends. He's
Wow.
almost never wrong, basically.
That's jeez, that's actually pretty good.
Like he was able to predict things like the first smartphone, just about which year it was going to come out. He was able to
Really?
predict when voice recognition technology was going to be made public. I think like 10 or 15 years before it was created.
So, wait, when did voice recognition become like popular? 'Cause
I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
because I know voice commands were a thing before Siri was even made.
But he predicted, and I'd have to find more information about him, which I can do later.
Yeah.
But he predicted that within the next, I want to say, 30 or 40 years, that the Turing test would be passed by an AI, that human brain digitization would be possible. So obviously he's a monist, not a dualist.
Yeah. I guess I just think it's like time travel. It's there's a lot of math and science behind it, but there's just this one key ingredient which will just not let it happen. I just think that.
The key ingredient is love.
Yes, love and possibly lots and lots and lots of human parts.
I wonder where the
Oh.
love neurons are. Can we map those?
I think I really can't say specifically what I think, but what I believe is that consciousness has kind of evolved emotions in a way where we surpass our human nature and we have created this subnatural thing, and not supernatural, but like this unnaturally human thing called emotions. That's actually a good thing too. If we ever create artificial conscience, do you think it'll have emotions?
Would
I
certainly
mean, again,
be a
that's
good-
going to depend on if it's physical or not.
Oh, okay.
had emotions, it'd probably be a good prevention of possible going rogueness.
No, I'm not saying that it'll go rogue. It doesn't have emotions. I'm just saying that. Do you think it'll be necessary to involve emotions? Because when I say emotions, I mean good and bad. Do you think robots will just feel good emotions and that's it? They can't. You think they'll be happy and sad? I mean, sorry. You
It
think they'll
should
be?
feel the exact range of emotions that humans feel, because it's human emotions which keeps us from doing crazy, stupid stuff all the time.
I understand.
I
But
don't think they'll feel human emotions. I think their emotions will be entirely unique to them, because human emotions, while being heavily based in physiology, how your brain's set up, how you're wired, they are very large part dependent on your experiences.
that
And a
is true.
robot will only be a few minutes old and will have things programmed into it, but it won't have lived.
My
So
question
it's
is
emotion.
though.
It might not understand what happy means or what sad means.
Yeah, but my question is though, if we ever do actually manage to program actual emotions, human or not, into them, do you think we'll try to program just happy ones? Because what will be the purpose of the? I mean, I understand maybe military ones, but do you think a robot will only feel happiness and excitement, but not feel sadness and anger? Do you think they'll just do like that so they integrate into society without wanting to kill us all? Or do you think they'll be killing us all happily?
Why would they want to kill us all?
Well,
That's a theory that was first popularized by Asimov. Asimov's Three Rules of Robotics. And it was to counter the idea that humans have to program robots and AIs. In mind, he wrote these decades ago,
yeah.
like early 1900s.
Okay.
but it was to counter the theory that robots would, having been modeled after human thoughts, inevitably try to destroy humans to save themselves. But would a robot want to destroy humans if it were able to think?
I guess since we are. The thing is, what scares me about that is maybe yes, because we ourselves have shown that we're problematic to this planet. And it depends how we program them. Let's, like, what is their objective? Because if you realize, it's a bit of a, again, cheesy, but think about this. What if we program then, like, okay, protect human life above all? Are they going to destroy the planet and possibly other humans to protect certain humans? Do you think that if humans are a threat to humans, but they're programmed to protect human life, do you think they'll kind of just blow up because they can't process it? No.
How do you think robots and AI is going to be incorporated into society? Are you thinking iRobot, where they just walk around on street as bipedal humanoids doing human things? Or
I think it
are
actually
you still
no,
just going to have a boring old toaster and a boring old microwave, and it's just going to be like big companies will have a server with an AI in it to route data?
Do you have you ever played or seen Detroit Become Human?
I know of it.
Well, I think it's actually that's actually I think once that's sorry about that. What were you gonna say, Barma?
I've seen Detroit Become Human.
So you know what I'm talking about, right? You've seen it.
I watched like a whole video basically breaking it down because like I didn't think the game looked interesting enough for me to buy it, so I just kind of went, okay, I'll look at this breaking it down.
So
And I'm like, oh,
can you describe it for us?
basically it's androids that were built to be basically start. Well, one of them basically his own person, and instead of being calm and rational, he just tries to, sometimes. It depends on how you play the game.
Yeah, the thing is, okay, in the game, we're in the future. I would say maybe 70, 80 years into the future, I think. And in the game,
It's the alternate universe of Cyberpunk 2077.
pretty much. And in the game,
Everything, instead of being Cyberpunk, it's all like Chrome.
yeah, basically. So basically, in this game, robots have advanced so much that they have robotic skeletons and interiors on the inside, but they are on the surface, on the outside, physically, they look almost human. They look basically human, but they act on a threshold between human and robotic that is almost indistinguishable. I really do think you'll be one of the people that loves the game the most because it's really the kind of game you will be into. And it's in the game, they are programmed to be servants. They're they're called androids, and the company that makes them is called CyberLife. That's where the meme. I'm Connor, the android sent by CyberLife, and many others.
Wait, you mean me? Do you mean me like the game or Squeebers like the game?
No, Squeebers. Squeebers would really like that game, I think. But he'll have his own opinion. But in the game, basically, the robots become servants, policemen, and they basically fill the jobs of a human being. And there are all kinds of
They
people.
still have human police.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's all kinds. And you get to see different perspectives of these robots. But there is a slight amount of AI that is just too advanced to actually be just AI. And it kind of turns into artificial consciousness. And they kind of break from their programming a bit. You really have to see the game, so I really don't want to spoil it for you because it's a very interesting game and I really do think you have to look it up. But I think that's a great example of what it would be like if we incorporate humans into our daily life. I mean, we technically are with Alexa and Siri and Google Home and all these kinds of things. They're always listening, so.
They are, and it's very similar to the idea of like Ghost in the Shell, which is a show and series of movies I love. But
Yeah.
why would we have humanoid robots? with individual AIs amongst them?
Different reasons, honestly. It can be anything from psychological to efficiency, because, again, just check out Detroit Become Human, and you'll understand what I mean. They can range from anywhere to being part of a family, or just emotional help, maybe medical help, maybe their police. Maybe when you have like a very dangerous criminal and you don't want to risk any human men, then you just send or human police force, and you just want to send a robot so that if they die, it's just a piece of equipment you can just replace. A human being is very hard to replace, almost impossible if they get killed. So, you know, maybe it's
But
just
why make them humanoid, bipedal, basically able to pass the uncanny valley smell test,
so that
and give
people
them a
and
full
society,
range AI?
so society can accept them. Society needs them to be human, or else they'll feel like they're just being spied on, and they'll be very skeptical and not want them. If we make them
Most likely.
humanoid, yeah, we make them humanoid and we give them human features, people will be much more accepting. Because we're humans.
We've done human features before as well. Like I saw a video of like this
Go back.
animatronic pretty much, and it's like, and I could look at it and tell it wasn't human.
Yeah, yeah. So, for example, if you listen to Siri, Siri is very robotic and she sounds very fake. But you listen to Alexa, and Alexa is very. She sounds more human than Siri, and people trust her more than Siri, I guess. I have seen that people do prefer to speak to an Alexa than to a Siri, not only because of function, but also because of personality. They People admire when robots or machines have when the programmers kind of add this little joke to them or add human features to them. So if you go all out and add tons of human features to a humanoid robot, they'll be way more accepted by everyone, really, and they'll be more accepted wherever they work, and they'll be, I guess, kind of integrated into our society. And there's gonna be all kinds of people that think all kinds of things. Some people want to marry them, obviously. Overwatch. I just think humans have been very complex since the very start, and we've been very weary of that which we do not understand. So by making them humanoid, we technically think we understand them more when we really don't. So, yeah. You there?
I'm here. I'm sorry. I'm just taking care of something.
No, it's just Squeaker's muted his microphone.
Squeak!
Yeah, I think he went away for a second. But what do you think about actually that? Because now I think about it.
Yeah. Could you specify what that was? Because I lost that apparently.
Like, what do you think if Detroit Become Human becomes our future? What if you're like 40 years old and you suddenly see an android walk next to you that looks just like a human? What would you feel?
I don't know. It would depend. Would it be the beginning of Detroit Become Human or the post game of Detroit Become Human?
I would say beginning, when they're all friendly and stuff.
But that would mean they're basically also slaves. And I really don't like that.
In a way, it's... Oh gosh, that's a bit controversial, but...
Yeah, that's kind of why I was surprised you brought it up.
Yeah...
About the game itself, anyways.
But... I guess it's just... I really like the game because of the example of consciousness in it. I know there's a lot of parts which I do not want to touch, but it's just that part of Detroit Become Human, whereas they are programmed to do what we want them to do. But what about you? Would you yourself, as a human being, accept having robotic employees? Maybe not slaves, but like having them as an employee.
Okay.
Have them
I
like,
guess if they're going to be treated like, as long as they're being treated like humans, since they have basically human intelligence, I guess I wouldn't mind.
so you wouldn't feel uncomfortable. You feel like it's just another person.
As long as they're actually acting upon their own ideas and consciousness.
That's the thing, though. Do you think they will?
As long as they're acting like that and not feeding everything they're seeing into some sort of gigantic data hub, I guess I'm fine.
What if they were sending it to some sort of gigantic data hub? What would you think?
My shotgun, blow their brains out.
Oh my god. You're gonna have to pay for that, you know. They're a robot.
I already get annoyed with Google spying on me. Like, I swear.
You
my
have a
parents,
Google
they talk
Home.
about one. Yes, but I get tired of it. Like, anything
Disconnected.
in front of Google without. You can't talk about anything in front of Google without it sending you an ad.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's creepy. I usually turn off my microphone because
It's
of
like.
that.
It was like, well,
Well, at a certain point.
Yahoo, you still in business?
Well, at a certain point, what's the harm? But also, privacy. It's a very controversial. Well, not controversial. It's a very weird and very expansive subject of its own. But I really don't understand. I don't understand either side. I don't know why Google has to spy on us, and I don't understand why people mind that they're spying on us. Like, I don't understand either side, because if they're spying on you, what are you doing that is so wrong that you don't want them to spy on you? Second, why are they spying?
Okay, well, to answer your first question, I think it's just people wanting their privacy. I mean,
Well, yeah.
I'm just kind of stuck a microphone in your window while you're, I don't know, talking about something pretty serious. Like, I don't know, maybe you're going through a divorce and you don't want anyone to know about it yet.
Yeah, historically, it's a failing
gosh.
argument to
You-
say that
You scared me.
if you're not doing anything wrong, then what's the big deal? Because that's exactly what the whole Big Brother 1984 idea is. Orson Welles and all that
People
fun stuff.
value their privacy. So, and don't they have a right to privacy?
Yeah. Well, I could just say Google and they're not gonna close my stream. Oh god, possibly.
Did you just say a bad word?
I'm gonna censor it, don't worry.
Kick 'em.
Banned,
Kat.
banned from Twitch.
Banned from Twitch.
Welcome to Baroth Banter.
That's actually why I said really low. I said really low for that exact reason. I didn't want anyone to hear it.
No.
They'll censor it. Don't worry. No one will know. Only the Twitch stream. Actually, if you're on Twitch, say hi. We aren't gonna bite. Hopefully,
you.
are you
What I
gonna
want.
bite the viewer? Really?
Flipping.
Yes, my head's gonna bust through the screen and bite their head off.
I think you played too much Monster Hunter.
Not actually like a furry or whatever like that. Freak me out.
Oh my god, no.
Freak
No.
me the heck out.
Alright. So, also, what do you think consciousness was like for early humans? Now I think about it. Do you think early humans had the same level of consciousness as modern humans?
No.
What do you think?
Probably
you
to
would-
some extent.
To some extent? How so?
Well,
I feel like humans have
human
done a lot of
brain-
evolving recently. And
the human
I know it,
brain changed a lot. It
Yes.
changed a lot very quickly.
Yeah, that's
but it's like, I don't know. I don't think that the actual functioning of the brain would have changed over the years. Like, social ideas and might have changed, but the brain itself is still a brain. It might have grown, it might have shrunk, it might have turned into a freaking dragon for all we know. Still a brain. It hasn't changed.
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
Humans
But
were following evolution theory. Humans had tails at one point.
yeah,
But we still had a brain.
I remember that. Yeah, yeah, but
Following religion.
I'm
Humans
just
were perfect quote unquote from the beginning. So it's like, okay, why would they need to change it? They're perfect.
Yeah, let's just not touch religion, please.
Just saying, it's like, no matter how you look at it,
Yeah, but Bama, please.
something there that says the brain hasn't changed. It might have, again, it might have grown, it might have shrunk, it might have turned into a dragon, it might have turned into a toilet.
That sounds an awful lot like changing.
Like what?
Yes, but it didn't change its basic function.
I get what you mean. It didn't.
Be a brain.
It developed its function, but it didn't change it. That's what you mean.
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe it's just me thinking. Maybe just me wanting to say, hey, brains haven't changed. They're brains.
So do you think? This is gonna be a weird question. If we ever do actually manage to have brain surgery be a viable option, do you think consciousness will change as a construct?
What do you mean by brain surgery? You mean like
I give you my brain, you give me your brain, and we just switch bodies, technically. Do you think then consciousness will change? Or do you think the brain is just what carries consciousness? So we'll just switch bodies, but I'll be conscious in your body.
okay? Let me think about.
Yeah.
To be honest,
Because again, I remember the entire...
I actually looked at something, and
Yeah. Because remember what I
let's say
said?
your brain got destroyed and suddenly grew itself back.
Like Deadpool?
Yeah, like Deadpool. But guess what?
Because what?
Is different. It is a blank slate.
Oh, that's a game
Because the
theory
memories
video.
aren't. The memories aren't genetic.
I know, I saw that game theory video.
So
But to be fair, he's a
but then
comic
think
book
about,
character.
okay,
There's magic in the Marvel universe,
Yeah,
so let's not
I can-
question that.
I'm not questioning that. I'm talking about like the science Matt Pat presented.
No, it's viable and it's true, but there's magic in
here's
the
what I
Marvel
think.
universe, so anything can happen.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the Marvel stuff. I'm just talking about like the brain stuff. I think if you swap the brain, you are technically not destroying the.
Sorry. Yeah, but I mean, like,
Got what the. You don't destroy the cells that carry the memories and the electrical impulses to, tell the brain, hey, this is a memory, or hey, this is so on and so forth.
yeah, actually, that's a good question. How's the brain
Could
work?
have a
Because-
body swap via brain transplant.
Hmm?
Theoretically, because your brain would still have memories and experiences, meaning the brain is still the same person, but you might not be in the same body.
So you think?
Swapping a brain is much more difficult than just replacing the entire head.
Oh no, yeah, definitely. But I'm just saying, like, I was wondering because it seems like a very straightforward question. It seems like, oh yeah, I would just wake up in another body. But if you're following all the theories on dualism and all that kind of stuff, and brain surgery is extremely hard. Like, do you really think that we would just swap bodies and keep going on our lives as if nothing happened? Or do you think we would, like, somehow stay in our body with a different brain? Sounds weird,
think the
but-
first one. I think the first option you presented would be a little bit of a yes and no answer for me, because here's the thing. Yes, I think that theoretically, if all went well, bodies via brain transplant, because again, the memories the cells in your brain would still remember the electrical impulse to
Yeah, to create the memory.
trigger your brain to remember to remember this or think that.
So that's a
You
more.
would not be able to.
What do you
live
call it? What do you
same
call
way
it,
anymore.
Squeebers?
What?
Dualism and what?
Monism.
So, Bama, you're kind of describing a bit of a monism argument there, whereas the brain.
This thing is like.
Yeah.
It's like the brain holds all the information. So if
Yeah.
you swap the brain out, it would still carry over in the information, assuming it would still be active enough to not die upon the transplant.
Like an NES cartridge, just swap them out, blow on it a little bit.
But then you said, keep living as if nothing happened. You couldn't do that. You'd be in a completely different body.
Yeah, that's true.
still
Nothing
be
but, yeah.
that person to other people, but you would be you in your mind. So
Yeah,
let's say me and you swap brains. People would still be calling you Neko-sami.
that's true.
I'm a bear off.
Yeah,
But
that's
again, it
Same
wouldn't
concept
be a
speed. It's
brain
like
swap. A head transplant has already been done in 2017 in China. They were successfully able to transplant a human head from one body to another.
brain at all.
And they did this on obviously cadavers, but they were able to reconnect the spinal cords, reconnect the blood vessels, reconnect the skin, reconnect the muscles, and it was a total success. And then they found a guy, I think he's Russian, and has a degenerative disease that basically makes him a crumpled little mess with a head on top. And his head's perfectly fine, but the rest of his body is like essentially not there. It's just a big pile of bones and flesh. And he was going to be the first live human
Experiment.
to do the head transplant. And he was all for it, totally supported it. Scientists all over the world were trying to sue him and trying to stop the procedure.
Wait,
And
why are you gonna
then,
sue him?
because scientists are terrified of things like this, they would
But
much
he was
rather it not
consenting.
happen. Yeah.
And
And
that
they
suing
argued
him
that
sounds like something people who don't like science would do, like saying that
Yeah,
cloning is
that's
a
what I'm saying. He was fully conscious of what the consequences would be if it wasn't successful. He was fully aware, I imagine.
yeah, and
Yes,
all these
continue,
other
Squares.
scientists argued that if the doctors went ahead with the surgery and the man died, as they say he is likely to do, that the doctors would all be charged with murder.
For something that he consent, it would be. I mean, okay, I'm sorry. Even if they were charged with that, he consented. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a medical procedure. If you go to a doctor's office and you're in there because you gotta get a leg chopped off and then something bad happens and there's a complication and you die, the doctor doesn't go to jail for murder.
Oh.
I'm just saying that's exactly how he was looking at it, is that if you
Yeah,
go to
Makes
the
sense.
go for surgery, they cut out or cut off whatever the damaged parts are, and in his case, it's his entire body that's the damaged part.
You're just all screwed up, aren't you?
But they found a suitable donor who was a brain dead male about the same age, whose
Oh.
family had consented. But then last minute he backed out and decided he didn't want to do the surgery.
Oh. Did he give any reasoning as to why?
None that I know of. It's been a while since I looked him up.
Oh, okay.
Maybe he's come out since then and said something, but I mean, this was all in like 2016, 2017.
Yeah, I kind of heard about that, but that was a very experimental time for science and bodies.
Yeah, back in the dark ages of 2 years ago.
We don't talk about 2016. Yeah, 2016 was a weird.
I wish
year
that
overall.
he did go through the surgery because that would have answered my question. Does the brain transplant the consciousness and the person, or does it just change?
My question isn't whether or not it can be done. My question is how much time do you have? Because the brain needs electricity. Oh, not electricity, but like it needs its electrical circuits to work. So, what's the time frame?
Oh, how you
I mean,
free from the body? I would assume that you can probably get it
yeah,
get
but
it
when
over pretty quickly if you're quick and careful at the same time.
yeah, because I don't mean to get a little gory, but I have heard that when when you chop an animal's head off, the head kind of stays conscious for a bit and then kind of fades away. But is that true?
But
It would have
But-
been done very quickly. They had a whole process already planned out through their testing on like rats and cadavers.
Yeah.
The donor would have been brought in, brain would have been taken off, or a head would have been taken off, and then the body would have been kept alive with various machines.
Well, then
And-
that's another thing to realize. This whole thing is talking about transplanting heads. We're just talking about transplanting individual brains.
I mean, it's the same concept, really.
But
Well,
then
yeah,
he would have been
but I'm
brought
saying-
in, cooled down to above freezing, and then they would have very quickly just taken his head off, reconnected the nerves and the blood vessels, and then worked on the rest of the stuff over a few weeks.
Yeah, but I mean the neck at least has so many blood vessels, and it flows fast. like
Well,
like
I
have you
presume that's part of the reason they wanted to cool them down to like 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah,
Slow
makes
down
sense.
decay, slow down fluid motion.
Oh yeah, like clinical death. I remember seeing that. Like,
Hmm?
it's like where they all your blood with like this
My what?
liquid that's supposed to take its place, and then they can operate without having to worry about blood loss or something like that.
Oh yeah, I have heard about that. I totally forgot.
I remember that, and that
Is that why
Yeah,
hospitals are always freezing?
that's because they have to keep the
All the dead
body
people
cold
walking around.
during that process.
Oh, okay.
At least I'm
Seems
pretty
though
sure they have
that
to keep it cold.
majority of people who opposed the procedure, it
Hmm.
was all based on ethics.
Yes, that's
Ethics in what
that's kind of
sense?
what I was mentioning earlier.
Ethics. It's like,
Few
again, he
people-
consented.
Few people seem to have been concerned that it would be dangerous or he would die, because the doctors who were doing the surgery said that it would have, let's see, 90% plus chance of success, because there would be over 80 surgeons involved and tens of millions of dollars.
Mm,
But then all of the dissenters, all the people who are against it, are like heads of ethics committees and ethical attorneys with hospitals, all saying, "Oh, ethically it's bad, and it's just a farce of science. It's unethical. You can't do this."
well, again, is it unethical? It would be unethical if they just forced him to do it, duh. But if he's like,
Yeah, but he consented. He
Yeah,
consented to
again, I keep repeating this point
try
because
this out.
if I told you, hey, I know you're dying, and I know your body's all bad and all screwed up, so do you want to try this? There is a possible chance of death, but do you want to try it anyway? He's like, you know what? Yeah, sure. Like, what? That's his choice.
I mean, if I was that guy, I'd go, well, being dead is sure better than living like this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
What do I have to lose?
I don't know.
Put it on another body. Let's see if it works.
Now, this is a bit of a grim subject, but do you think after death, the consciousness is still around? Or do you think it just kind of dies out as well? Do you think it's something that can die?
Oh, that's dualism and monism for you.
Yeah, I
Okay,
guess so.
this is where I kind of split. It's like me being religious. It's like, oh, your soul / consciousness goes on to heaven, boo, and that stuff. But I'm also very scientific. So thinking, well, the body on Earth dies, including the consciousness. But
Okay. Do you think though? Okay, have you guys seen the movie Chappie?
Chippy, don't do
Mm.
crime.
I don't know what that is.
Don't do crime.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a movie basically about this guy who invents artificial consciousness. That's literally the movie. He invents artificial consciousness, and there's should I spoil this, Squeeps?
So much de-advert in today's podcast.
The what?
De-advert with Yolandi and Ninja.
Okay, but I don't
We
know.
were just talking about them earlier. They're the main characters in Chippy.
Oh, I didn't. Oh yeah, holy crap! I just haven't seen it in a long time. Okay, I forget. Okay, so Bama, is it okay if I spoil a little something about this movie for you?
I have no idea what the movie even is.
It's a meh movie. I can spoil this for you if you want.
Go ahead. Just go ahead. Just go ahead. I don't really care.
In the end of the movie, Chappie finds out what consciousness is, makes it digital. Then after the guy who makes him dies, Chappie takes his consciousness, digitalizes it.
Advertises it.
Yeah, and puts it into a robot, essentially making his creator from human to robot. Do you think that will ever really be possible? Do you think we'll ever really be able to harness consciousness in its rawest, purest form and insert it into maybe a robot or another body? I know it's a bit weird.
I was talking to
Well,
someone. I'm sorry.
relatedly, the that Ray Kurzweil guy I was talking about, the guy
Yeah.
that predicts technological trends.
Yeah.
One of his predictions was that by 2029, advanced artificial intelligence was going to lead to political and social movements for robots, where people would lobby for civil rights or
Overwatch. 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 That's literally Overwatch. We're gonna see
And he
Genki
thought that
running
by
around.
2099, the brain would be entirely mapped, and we'd be able to digitize, I think, by the 40s.
2040?
Yeah, somewhere in that range.
Like digitize the actual brain, or like
Yeah.
what? The entire thing.
Yeah.
And be able to recreate it with all of its emotions and human errors and human thoughts, and just make a person.
Yeah, he believed that by the 40s or 50s, it would pretty much be Ghost in the Shell, where you can just swap your brain case out into a new body.
Yeah, same with Alita too. Alita was a weird movie. Just gonna say, I saw it recently. Alita is it's a bit of a weird one. Then again,
I mean, this guy has a really long history of not being wrong. I think it's like 85%, like I said.
yeah, but there's always that 15%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has been wrong about a few things. Like, he said by 2009, we'd be using speech to text
Well,
over, like, writing.
I mean, eh?
He's
was a
about
little-
10 years off on that one.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He's like 10 years off. Yeah, I had a
But
cousin.
he did predict that in 1999, so...
Yeah, I guess 10 years isn't that bad. Well, does it count as a failure if it's late? Or is that like a
No.
late? Is that like a late success? Because I mean, he was right, just not on the time frame.
He also predicted in 1990 that by 2000, computers would be able to beat world-class chess players. And then
Oh,
in
yeah, but-
99 was when Deep Blue beat a world-class chess player.
I mean, I guess, but that was a bit easy because a
Yeah,
game.
but then that was early.
Yeah. No, I mean like.
Well, in 99 he predicted that computers would be embedded in jewelry and watches and other things.
Oh my god, have you ever seen the video of like this? It was like in 1920, I believe, or 1930. It said the man of the 2000s. It just presented this dude dressed in very weird space-like clothing that no one would ever wear, even as a joke. And it said the man of the 2000s will have a radio in his pocket, and will have a machine. It will have a telegram. It was like they will have wireless telegram, and they'll have a radio in their pocket, and they'll. I'm like, oh my god. I mean, I guess
I
I'm not.
love reading old sci-fi and science fiction novels because
No, but like,
Technically
look.
speaking, he wasn't wrong.
Yeah, no.
Technically speaking, that wasn't wrong.
Yeah,
it
but like,
happened just
look
slower
up.
than they probably expected.
Look up like 1910 to 1930 2000s prediction. They're hilariously. They're not bad. They're just like hilarious to listen to and how differently they are. One prediction in like the 1800s was that in the 2000s we would use hot air balloons to walk on water for some reason.
yeah, well, that's like I was just saying with the science fiction novels. That was a very popular time for predicting the future, the early 1900s up to like the 50s.
Yeah, because we were
And-
accelerating really fast.
So many of the predictions came
Ooh.
true, but in different forms.
I
Like
guess so.
back then, they had no way of imagining that we would have powerful supercomputers in our pockets that you can touch the screen of.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
in those old novels, they've got a lot of references to like people being able to pull out a miniature typewriter and be able to type it out, and magically the signal is sent through the air. But the basic idea was right. It's just they had no way of knowing that a smartphone would ever be a thing.
I mean, they didn't even know a phone would be a thing.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here, they didn't even know a phone was gonna exist. that time they had telegrams. Is that?
Another interesting prediction that
Yeah.
this Ray guy made in 1990 was that by the early 2000s, cybernetic chauffeurs would drive cars for humans and would work by communicating with other vehicles.
Oh my god, just
And-
dude, look up
we
Detroit
got
Become
Tesla.
Human. Look up that game. Oh, well. Hello, Colin. You came out of nowhere. Yeah. Alright. He's kind of... Yeah, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Anyway, I want to thank both Bama Barif and Squeebers for being on this podcast with me. We really need to get the other speakers on. They're still here. They're still in the server, but they just haven't had a good schedule. But they'll be here soon enough. Hopefully, it gets free on the next one. I just want to thank you both though for joining me, and thank you for helping me explore this very wide subject. There was a lot to cover. Holy crap! It was a pretty extensive one. It was a pretty extensive one, yeah. And I want to thank all the audience for watching. Hopefully you also enjoyed the video on YouTube. For all of you who are watching there, leave your ideas in the comments below. Damn it, I need to focus. I think that other than that, I hope you all have fun and hopefully you have a good night. Bye everyone.